So, guys, people are all talking about this just days after leaving his official role at the White House. Elon Musk is now blasting President Trump's big, beautiful bill as a disgusting abomination. And that's coming from the guy who made the Cybertruck.
Yes. Attempts at comedy late night. Generally speaking, not very successful. I wonder, do they still give out awards for comedy every year? Because that's got to be that's a heavy lift these days. That's got to be quite a challenge. Now, like two funny people out there. And neither one of them a Democrat, because the Democrat, they're just not funny anymore. Am I right? They're just not funny. Not so funny. But they have given us a lot of unintentionally funny stuff today, for sure. They love Harvey Milk. They made a movie about him. Who was in that movie, Michael? Who played her? It was Sean Penn. Sean Penn was Harvey Milk in the movie about Harvey Milk, who was a gay pedophile child rapist who scraped a homeless runaway off the street, a young boy, a teenage boy. And then, that's the path to becoming a Democrat Party hero. Something that people leave out all too often is that Harvey Milk, in addition to being a pedophile rapist and hero of the Democrat Party, the Democrats named a U.S. naval ship after him, a U.S. Navy ship named for Harvey Milk, but not anymore. Not anymore, because Pete Hegseth announced that they're going to, how shall I say, strip the name Harvey Milk off of the U.S. naval ship named for Harvey Milk. He was not only a child rapist, pedophile, scraping a homeless runaway little boy off the streets and sexually abusing him again and again, but he was also a huge supporter of Jim Jones of the Temple of Doom, the People's Temple in Jonestown, Guyana, South America, with the massacre. Pretty much everybody was black, but that's okay. And now the Democrats. I was talking to my friends at WLS this morning, the great morning show team at WLS this morning, having fun with them, as I do every Wednesday morning, early in the morning. And I'm saying, the Democrats, they're angry. They're angry about everything all the time, of course. But one of the things they're going to be angry about two things today. Very angry. They might have to firebomb someone or gather up a makeshift flamethrower, go after the Jews, the Israelites, or something like that. Amazing. But they're going to be very, very angry that the Trump administration, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, talking about ordering now, taking the name Harvey Milk, lover of Jim Jones of Jonestown, and a 16-year-old boy. 60 Minutes should go find the 16-year-old boy that he sexually abused when he was a runaway, because the heroes of the Democrat Party and their progeny should be lionized and turned into heroes. 60 Minutes could do that. They won't do that because they're not in that business. They're in the Democrat Party business. You got that? And so Harvey Milk will be very angry about that, and very, very angry that it turns out the terrorists in Boulder, Colorado, that created a makeshift flamethrower and what did he make, 16 or 18 Molotov cocktails to go set the Israelites on fire and murder them. And he is, the new Luigi Mangione, I think, of the Democrat Party. He could be their new hero. He's not a fashion model, the new Egyptian terrorist in Colorado. So maybe they won't want their daughters to marry him like they do with Luigi Mangione. When I say marry, that's a euphemism. Remarkable stuff. But now it turns out that the terrorist there, he has a wife. He's an illegal alien in the United States illegally, because he's illegal, and he's an illegal person. Some people are illegal, notwithstanding what the Democrats like to say. No person is illegal. No, lots of people are illegal. Here, let's start counting them, you dimwits. So they turns out that the terrorist, the Israelite murderer, the flamethrower boy, he has a wife in the country. Not only does he have a wife in the country, and I'm sure that she is just a beautiful, lovely jihadi. Pretty amazing stuff. But in Boulder, Colorado, not a border state, not a border city. And not only does he have his wife with him, his wife is an illegal alien in the United States, but he has 5 kids, 5 little jihadis. Oh, look at the little jihadis running behind him like a row of ducks. They love it's just amazing. And his wife and his 5 kids are now, it turns out they're here illegally too, because they're illegal and they're going to be deported now. And the Democrats are going to be furious, absolutely furious about this, because no person is illegal except the ones they abort, 1 million a year, and they harvest their organs. They're not in good stead with the Democrat Party. But isn't that amazing? And now it turns out the guy has 5 kids and a wife, and the Trump administration is saying, hey, I think maybe we'll deport them. And the Democrats, they will lay down in front of trains to defend the illegal alien jihadis. If you're Jewish and a Democrat, you really need to sit down and think real hard. Isn't that amazing? But the people of the New York Post have the story, and the Washington Post, they don't. Colorado terror attack suspect Mohammed Sabri Soleiman, wife, 5 children, detained by ICE, face expedited deportation. You know, justice should be swift, don't you think? And like the sword of the Prophet Muhammad. Great stuff. And also, did you see the video that has surfaced of the guy setting himself on fire? The Democrats, they can take anything and at least bring one laugh to it. Only unintentionally, though. You got the jihadi, Soleiman. I just like to call him Mohammed. It's the shortcut, And Mohammed, he's throwing a Molotov cocktail because the Israelites are nearby and he wants to set them all on fire and murder them all. And throwing a Molotov cocktail, not his bag, baby. He's still learning. He had tried to buy a gun so he could gun down the Israelites and kill them all in a terrorist jihadi massacre that the Democrats invited into the country, because the Democrat Party is the greatest threat to Western civilization and to the world. The American left, the Democrat Party, because this is the key to the whole thing, the linchpin, if you will. Can the Democrats use the word linchpin, or do they have to eliminate that because their history of lynching people because they're racist? But isn't this amazing? The guy, the illegal alien in the country, has his wife with him and 5 little jihadis. Just amazing. So the wife and all 5 children of Colorado terror suspect Mohammed Sabri Soleiman have been arrested by federal immigration agents and will be swiftly deported. Swiftly, I think, is a fun word there. Sources told the New York Post. Soleiman, 45 years old, that's in American years, an Egyptian national who is accused of injuring 12 people with a homemade flamethrower and Molotov cocktails during an anti-Semitic attack in Boulder, Colorado, was living in the United States illegally for 2 months after his legal status, given to him by Joe Biden and the Democrats because they love jihad, expired on March 28th. March 28th. And if you've seen the pictures of him where he's got a huge gauze wad on his right ear and kind of wrapped around his head, that's because he set himself on fire with, and I was reminded of the Democratic convention, wasn't it, where the Democrats were burning American flags, and one of the Democrats, while burning the American flag, which is what Democrats do with the American flag, they don't pledge allegiance to it. Oh, yeah, Michael Moore has, we got him. He's rewriting American anthems because he's a communist and he's anti-American and a perfectly mainstream Democrat. But you remember the Democrat burning the American flag. They were there celebrating Hillary Clinton, and while burning the American flag, he accidentally set himself on fire.
Move back! Watch it! You're on fire! You're on fire, stupid!
So the Democrat set themselves, I don't even know if it's a man or a woman, it's hard to tell. Could be a man with ovaries or a woman with external genitalia. You know how the Democrats are. But set themselves on fire, so probably genderless, and they all are. I think we shouldn't refer to Democrats as he or she or him or her anymore. They should all just be they and them and their. And they can all use the HOV lanes, too, which is kind of nice. But I digress. So the guy set himself on fire. Mohammed set himself on fire with the Molotov cocktail. And Following his arrest on Sunday, ICE and Homeland Security, the investigative agents there, have taken his family into federal custody, a Department of Homeland Security official told the New York Post. Mohammed's despicable actions will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, but we're also investigating to what extent his family knew about this horrific act, if they had any knowledge of it, or if they provided support to it. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem said in a statement. That is a good thing, I've got to say. And, you know, if they have any cousins or if they had dinner with anybody, let's deport them too. Let's expedite their deportation because, let's face it, we got enough jihadis in the United States, and that's just the Democrat Party. If you're a registered Democrat, this is what you're part of. This is who you are, what your party is. This is what you joined. You might as well join ISIS and self-immolate, because like the guy at the Israeli embassy or the woman at the Israeli consulate in Atlanta, or the man at the Trump trial in New York that self-immolated and killed himself outside of that. The Democrats love self-immolation, like the Democrat that rented the Tesla Cybertruck and went to the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas and self-immolated in front of blew himself up, tried to kill a lot of people with nail bombs and things, but only killed himself because they're dangerous but stupid at the same time. So we've got that going. So I've got updates for you on that, and I'm thrilled that the family has been arrested and that they'll be ejected. I'd catapult them into the Atlantic Ocean and see, like Greta Vanderberg. She's still on that yacht, right? Allegedly going to Gaza. As I understand it, the yacht's not going anywhere. They're just having a yachting vacation in the Mediterranean. They're not headed to the Gaza. But Greta, the prophet of doom, the child prophet of doom, aboard that multi-million-dollar sailing yacht, allegedly going to protest in Gaza. There's a funny meme going on around about her too, about going to Gaza. She had honestly, when I saw it, I said, "Gee, sure hope that Greta doesn't end up on the on the rooftop of a tall building in Gaza because it's Pride Month, and that could lead to bad things." I think just amazing. Oh, speaking of which, President Trump in the White House, the headline Newsmax has the story. White House says Trump has no plans to recognize LGBTQ Pride Month. Sure. Yeah. But I think they're recognizing Pride Month by taking Harvey Milk's name off of a U.S. naval ship. Also, you know this naval ship named for Harvey Milk? I don't know if they did this with a sense of irony deliberately or what. You know what kind of ship it is? Is it an aircraft carrier, a destroyer, or a frigate? No, it's an oiler. It's an oiler. It's a Harvey Milk. It's a very well lubricated ship is what it is. Isn't that amazing? So Newsmax with the headline, Trump has no plans to recognize LGBTQ Pride Month. I think we left out a few letters and things there. And the Telegraph out of the United Kingdom, how Trump killed Pride Month. Well, they're still celebrating in Gaza, so don't worry about Pride Month at all. It's Straight White Man Pride Month. You're welcome. Amazing stuff, amazing. Oh, yeah, and Wes Moore, he's the Democrat governor of Maryland. He's planning on running for president of the United States, and the Democrats will pick him because he's a black man, and that's all it takes for the party of the Confederate States of America. Wes Moore jumped in there, and he's very angry about Harvey Milk's name being taken off of the U.S. Navy ship. I've got that coming up for you, too. Wes Moore, Democrat hero, yeah. And they misunderstand everything they see. It's the Beatles lyrics always come to mind. Living is easy with eyes closed. Womp, womp, womp. Misunderstanding all you see. Bum, bum, bum. All right, I've got lots of Democrat hijinks coming up. Elon Musk. He doesn't like the big, bad, beautiful bill anymore, and he said so, and that's the fake comedians going after that. Hakeem Jeffries, very angry. He comes from a line of anti-Semites, genocidal anti-Semites. We've got that. Updates out of Colorado and Chinese spies. The Democrats love Chinese spies. Some of them, like Eric Swalwell, they have sex with them. They have sexual relations with Chinese spies for a long time. I didn't know he was heterosexual, but ask Fang Fang apparently is. And we are at 888-630-9625. What about old people smoking pot? Have you heard about this? Old people smoking pot like never before. 888-630-9625. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. All right, honestly, I can't wait to pull the wings off of this desperate fly that is the Democrat Party and their Harvey Milk love affair, who loved Jonestown and child rape, and that made him a hero. Hey, let's name a U.S. Navy ship after him. Let's make it an oiler. It's a replenishment ship. Let's go to the telephones, Michael, and the Democrats are very angry. Let's go to Chris calling from Marshall, Virginia. Christopher, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, sir. Always an honor. Listen, the unfortunate news is that 60 Minutes will need a Ouija board to reach out to the Harvey Milk rape victim because due to the backlash of him going public, he punched his own ticket.
He committed suicide, you're saying?
He did indeed, sir, yes.
The 16-year-old that was pulled off of the sidewalks of San Francisco and sexually abused by Democrat city councilman Harvey Milk, who's now considered to be an icon of some kind of a civil rights movement. Well, what was that?
What's not to emulate about him, right? I mean, he's just perfect now. That just cements him as an icon, doesn't it?
Well, and I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Harvey Milk being shot and killed by a Democrat city councilman in San Francisco was an afterthought after the Democrat that killed the mayor there, George Moscone, who was not gay. He wanted to kill Mayor Moscone, which he did, and then down the hall he went and killed city councilman Harvey Milk because he didn't like him. But the guy who did the killing was a Democrat. The mayor was a Democrat. The city councilman was a gay Democrat. So they made a movie, a major, I think, Oscar award-winning motion picture about Harvey Milk with Jeff Spicoli playing Harvey Milk. Amazing stuff.
They're totally shameless. Sir.
No movie.
Hey, a request about the guy in Boulder. Let's refer to him as Hamo.
Hamo? Say that again. Why?
Hamo. His name's Mohammed, so let's just call him Hamo. Really rub it in.
Great stuff. So I've got updates on the governor of Maryland, the Democrat governor of Maryland who wants to be president. He's weighed in on this Harvey Milk thing too. That's coming up. And Harvey Milk is a hero of the Democrat Party. He was murdered by another Democrat city councilman in San Francisco, gunned down. Harvey Milk was not the primary target of the killer, the Democrat-elected city councilman killer. The target was the Democrat mayor of San Francisco at the time, George Moscone. Right? And so the killer, he went and he murdered the mayor and the City Hall, that beautiful City Hall building. It's in all the Dirty Harry movies. It's in the Dirty Harry movies. And then he went down the hall and he murdered Harvey Milk. And it's obviously a tragic, violent, terrible story of Democrats. But it turns out, here's a great headline from Front Page Magazine. Fact check, Harvey Milk was a pedophile. Sure, from Front Page Magazine. Harvey Milk was a pedophile. And that's a good one. The media, they're very, very wound up about this. Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, orders Navy to strip name of gay rights icon. He's a gay rights icon, Harvey Milk, from ship. And believe it or not, that's military.com. I'm kind of embarrassed for them. Why would a ship be named after a gay rights icon? He did serve in the Navy. Harvey Milk did. And then he became a Democrat city councilman in San Francisco. And then he scooped up a teenage boy off the street and sexually abused him. And I haven't done the independent research on this myself, but I've been told by a couple people here at the station that the 16-year-old eventually committed suicide, and that's what Chris, our first brilliant caller, talked about this morning as well. So we've got that. Another crazy thing about this Harvey Milk guy is that he was a huge supporter of the Jim Jones of Jonestown, the mass suicide and murder in Guyana in South America. Drink the Kool-Aid. That was Jim Jones. And he and they came out of San Francisco and Oakland before they went to South America to all commit mass suicide, about 900 of them. I remember the piles of bodies and all that stuff. I actually knew a guy that went down there, and he got shot by the lunatics. He was a NBC News, television news cameraman, Steve Sung. But never mind that. Let me get back to the governor of the state of Maryland, who is planning to run for the presidency of the United States, Wes Moore. And the Democrats love him. He's a black man, and he has political skills. So they're like, hey, we could steal power using Wes Moore. Let's do that. And Wes Moore tweeted out a picture of a couple of Navy ships at sea. One of them might even be the U.S. naval ship, USNS, not the USS, but the USNS Harvey Milk. And Wes Moore tweeted out, Democrat governor, Maryland, he tweeted out, I'll say it again, : I never heard him say it the first time, but he's going to say it again. Loving your country does not mean lying about its history, which is what the Democrats do all day, every day about the history of the Democratic Party. And they teach a lie about the Democrat Party in schools, in grammar school, and where they're trying to make your kids transgender because the Democrats are all Harvey Milk now. And not in high school. They don't teach the truth about the Democratic Party. Not in college do they teach the truth about the Democrat Party. The oldest racist organization in the United States is the Democratic Party. Don't kid yourself. The most murderous death cult in the history of the United States is the Democratic Party. But Wes Moore says he'll say it again, loving your country does not mean lying about its history. And then he's going to start lying about its history. We should embrace. They love that word embrace, don't they? They use that several times a day. That's like a woman word, embrace, I think. We should embrace the stories of Americans like Harvey Milk. Sure, we should. I'll do that now. And Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman, African-American anti-slavery activist who was a Republican, of course, because no black person in their right mind would have been a Democrat back then because they knew who the Democrats were. Civil War and the Underground Railroad and slavery and plantations and the bullwhip and lynchings and, the Democrat Party. But here Wes Moore says we should embrace the stories of Americans like Harvey Milk and Harriet Tubman, racializing it immediately, having nothing to do with Harvey Milk or any of that other stuff, who have helped make this country so powerful and unique. I don't think Harvey Milk has helped make the country powerful. Maybe a couple of unique things about him, but maybe we'll talk about that. Not diminish them, he says. And then he links to a CBS News story with the headline, Navy set to rename USNS Harvey Milk. Mulls names of other ships named for civil rights leaders. That's a lie, of course. CBS News is lying in the headline, and Wes Moore is sharing the lie because that's what they do. Now, one of the funny things about this, when I was looking it up this morning, the USNS Harvey Milk, which is the TAO 206, is the second of the John Lewis class. Congressman John Lewis not only has a ship named for him, he's got an entire class named for him because Democrats. So the John Lewis class of underway replenishment oilers. It's an underway replenishment oiler. It's an oil tanker, and it can refuel you at sea. Every ship should be a nuclear ship, I think, but that's me. So, and it's operated by the Military Sealift Command, but that's not important now. Isn't that amazing? Now, I was reminded of the Winston Churchill quote. Winston Churchill served in the Navy, and he later said, speaking of the British Navy, he said the British Navy is nothing but rum, buggery, and the lash. Rum, buggery, and the lash. Now, the word buggery is not in common usage anymore the way that it used to be. But buggery just means sodomy. So he's talking about the British Navy saying rum, buggery, and the lash. And, maybe the British Navy should have the Harvey Milk, but that's another thing for another day. And Harriet Tubman, of course, a Republican, an abolitionist, fighting against the Democrat Party her whole life was dedicated to that. But never mind that. And again, George Moscone, the then mayor of San Francisco, California, and he was assassinated in 1978 in the City Hall building by the Democrat city councilman there that wanted to murder him because they had having a fight over the city councilman's seat. He had just lost his seat, and he went to Mayor Moscone and said, "I want my seat back. I want my seat in the city council back." He's a Democrat. And the mayor said, "No, sorry, we can't make that happen." So he gunned him down and he killed him. Once he had killed that guy, then he went and he killed Harvey Milk because he didn't like Harvey Milk very much either. But that's okay because, Democrats, they've got to shoot a lot of people sometimes. And what's the thing about all that? But the guy, Dan White, had resigned from the city council there. They call the Board of Supervisors. And then the mayor, Moscone, was the law there that he gets to replace Dan White, the elected Democrat on the city council, the Board of Supervisors. And then Dan White didn't like the way that was going, so he went and he killed him. And that's a terrible thing. But and obviously it was really a terrible thing. Now, at the same time, who are we talking about here with Harvey Milk? And it was the Obama administration that named, and the Obama Navy Secretary, I think it was Ray Mabus, that named the ship after Harvey Milk. And then Hollywood made a major motion picture about it because, he was gay. And if he wasn't gay, then no movie. That's how that goes. But the good people at City Journal wrote a piece, and this was back in 2009, Drinking Harvey Milk's Kool-Aid. Lionized by Hollywood and California state legislators, the real Harvey Milk was a demagogue and pal of Jim Jones, of Jonestown, of the Jonestown Massacre. So in 2009, the City Journal writing, this Friday would have been slain San Francisco Supervisor Harvey Milk's 79th birthday. And California State Senator Mark Leno has introduced legislation to mark the date with a state holiday. Now, again, the mayor was assassinated, but they don't want the holiday in the name of the mayor because he wasn't gay. And that's how the left works. You got to shut everything down because they're special interest groups and all of that stuff. But never mind that, a special holiday. That date has a special significance in the public schools and educational institutions. That's not true. That's completely false, but that's what the Democrats were saying and what the state senator was saying. But it turns out that Harvey Milk was a big fan of the Jim Jones was one of the most extraordinary psychopaths of the 20th century in the United States of America. But the Jim Jones gang came out of San Francisco and Oakland, and he was white, Jim Jones, but he recruited mostly black people, and then they were being targeted by the FBI for being freak shows and abusing children and sexual abuse. So they fled to South America, and then they drank the Kool-Aid, and the phrase they really drank the Kool-Aid comes from Jonestown, means you bought in completely to whatever the cult is selling you. So Harvey Milk occasionally spoke at Jones's San Francisco People's Temple. Pretty amazing stuff. Before the congregants of the People's Temple drank Jim Jones's deadly Kool-Aid, Harvey Milk and much of the San Francisco ruling class had already figuratively imbibed in the drinking of the Kool-Aid. Harvey Milk occasionally spoke at Jones's San Francisco-based headquarters, promoted Jim Jones and the People's Temple through his newspaper columns, and defended the People's Temple from the growing legion of critics. Jim Jones, the mad psychopath of the People's Temple, provided conscripted volunteers for Harvey Milk's campaigns to distribute leaflets by the tens of thousands. Harvey Milk returned the favor by abusing his position of public trust on behalf of Jim Jones's criminal endeavors. Reverend Jones is widely known in the minority communities here and elsewhere as a man of the highest character. This is Harvey Milk writing about Jim Jones, who has undertaken constructive remedies for social problems, which have been amazing in their scope and effectiveness. That's the then San Francisco City Councilman Harvey Milk wrote President Jimmy Carter. This is what Harvey Milk sent to Jimmy Carter, praising Jim Jones and the Temple of Doom. Now, that was 7 months before the Jonestown Massacre. Just amazing. The purpose of Harvey Milk's letter to Jimmy Carter was to aid and abet his powerful supporters' abduction of 6-year-old boy. There was a 6-year-old boy, and they were sexually abusing, and Harvey Milk was defending that, and the Democrats were defending that, and he was bringing it all the way to the then Democrat president of the United States, Jimmy Carter, right? Pretty amazing stuff. And so he's all about Jim Jones and the Jonestown, the Temple of Doom, the People's Temple, and he was taking it all the way to the White House, how great the People's Temple was. So this is the guy that they wanted to have a holiday named for, and that's just scratching the surface, because Front Page magazine had a great piece in 2023, Fact Check. Harvey Milk was a pedophile. Milk's taste in men veered toward boys is the subheadline at this great piece from Front Page magazine. Wonderful stuff. The media is mediating again and confusing its leftist culture war beliefs with actual facts. And the story in Front Page magazine goes on to explain about the 16-year-old, and some of it I can't read out loud because there are bad words. There are bad words. But the 16-year-old street boy that Harvey Milk pulled off the street, a homeless waif who needed to be saved, but instead was brought into the home of Harvey Milk, and Harvey Milk sexually abused the young boy, the underage boy, endlessly. Just amazing stuff. Of the underage boy, and I can't read it, but let's see. He brought the 16-year-old in. The Milk said he had many things to do that day, such as cook dinner, and the young boy's name was Jack. Cook dinner, beep, Jack. Take a bath, beep, Jack. Listen to some music, beep, Jack. Wash the dishes, beep, Jack, and on and on. And he's talking about sexually assaulting the underage boy. And the Democrats wanted to have a holiday named for him. The then Obama administration named a naval ship after him, the Jonestown-loving, Temple of Doom, Jim Jones-loving, 16-year-old homeless boy raping Democrat city councilman in San Francisco, who was sadly gunned down by another Democrat city councilman. And the Democrats want to name a ship. I don't think U.S. Navy ships should be named for this guy or anybody like this guy. Call me old-fashioned. Let's call it the Audie Murphy instead. Let's name ships for Medal of Honor recipients, for war heroes, but not for Jonestown-loving child rapists who were corrupt San Francisco city councilmen. But that's what Barack Obama did and his Navy Secretary, Ray Mabus. And now when you want to unname them, the Democrats, they might have to self-immolate or make new flamethrowers, maybe firebomb the Jewish governor's house in Pennsylvania again. The Democrats love Jonestown, and actually, we've got a soundbite. We were just talking about Michael and I, and there's a documentary about Jonestown called "Escaping Evil: My Life in a Cult," and I watched it a couple of years ago. Michael went and retrieved this soundbite from that documentary. It sounded just like the Democrat Party.
In an effort to shore up support among his followers, Jones vilifies the outside world.
Jones had said that a fascist government was going to take over and was going to throw African Americans in prison camps, much like Nazis had done to Jews in the Holocaust.
Sounds exactly like the Democrat Party today, doesn't it? It's they're not on our side, and they're not good common sense people. Let's go to the telephones, Michael. Jonestown and Democrats. Let's go to enjoyed the full support of Democrats everywhere. Let's go to Teresa, calling from Olney, Maryland. Teresa, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for taking my call. I had a very interesting conversation a couple of weeks ago with a white liberal who was barking at me because, I was debating her and she didn't like it. And she says, "Stop drinking the Kool-Aid." And I was like, well, you know that Jonestown, although that's where the phrase Kool-Aid came from, and they were all communists and liberals. And she goes, "Now you're calling me a communist and a liberal?" And I was like, do you not see the correlation here? Like, I don't even know why. I literally, Chris, your show keeps my sanity because I wasted way too much energy with that woman, and I didn't even know her. She was a friend of a relative who is unfortunately a white liberal too in New York, and I never go on that Facebook page to comment on anything, but this time I did, and the conversation went literally for 2 days, and I was like, what on earth am I doing with this? What?
Well, I think you're walking away is probably the right decision. There's no point, there is no convincing stupid. You can't change the mind of stupid, and it's amazing what they don't know. Jonestown, they were building a socialist utopia in Guyana. They fled San Francisco and Oakland to build it.